Hello and welcome to Xbox On. Mass Effect Andromeda is finally upon us, bringing with it an entire new galaxy full of planets to discover, bad aliens to kill, and sexy aliens to romance. Just don't get those last two confused. Could be messy. We've played the game for around 40 hours and have come up with advice for first-time explorers. If you're looking to get a foothold on one of these tough, uncompromising planets, here are 8 killer tips and tricks to help you get ahead. When you start the game and create your character, you're given a choice of training. This isn't a fixed character class, but a starting point on Andromeda's massive skill tree. While any character can eventually unlock skill, training does fast-track you to skills that might be locked off for other characters to begin with. For the easiest ride in these early hours, we'd go for one of the following. Picking either security or operative gives you access to combat fitness, a skill that other classes must spend 9 skill points on combat skills to unlock. The first 3 points you invest in combat fitness will boost health and shields, both very useful. Reaching the 3rd rank, however, unlocks a 3rd gun holster, which makes all the difference in these early stages where you haven't had a chance to craft any juicy weapons. Being able to enter fights with a gun for every range, a sniper for long distance cowardice, an assault rifle for mid-range, and a shotgun for up close and personal is a big help. It also means you've got a second backup weapon should you not be near any ammo boxes on the battlefield. The Biotic class gives you Throw to start playing with. Great for pretending to be a Jedi, you know, if that's your kind of thing. But more importantly, it lets you start investing points in Barrier. Again, non-Biotic trainees have to spend 9 points on Biotic powers before it unlocks. Barrier is great for evening the odds early on as it strengthens your shield and shortens the period before it begins to recover. Until you start crafting better armors later in the game, this is the easiest way to lengthen your life. It also turns your shield bar a lovely shade of purple, which has to be worth a bonus point, right? Finally, the Technician and Leader training both unlock team support, which helps keep companions alive, meaning you spend less time risking your own life to revive them. It's not as immediately valuable as more guns or better shields, but will give you a better fighting chance. Once you've picked your character class, you still have to deal with the 36 skills waiting to be unlocked. Some will be limited until you've invested more points in that discipline, but we've picked a couple that come in handy for us in the early hours of the game. The combat turret can be a huge help. It may not do loads of damage in its lower ranked form, but it kind of behaves like a 4th party member. Once you throw it out, it can draw enemy attention, and one less monster going for your throat can only be a good thing. Tapping the power button lets you target specific enemies. Order both your turret and your companions to attack the same target, and even bigger enemies will go down fast. Best of all, see the turret all the way through to rank 6 and you can add a flamethrower, which is always a great touch. Watch them aliens burn. Another really useful skill you can unlock from the start is Energy Drain. This sucks life from an attacker and fuels your own shield. Considering that your initial shield can be chipped away by even the smallest amounts of pain, the drain is a great way to keep yourself going. This is really handy if you find yourself stuck out in the open without rocks or crates to recover behind, or if you want to close the distance and deliver some close-up melee kills without taking an absolute pounding on the trip over to the enemy. Another skill to help control a more hectic battlefield is the Trip Mine, an explosive that does a massive 1,350 points of damage. The mine is triggered by proximity, so it's great for covering your flank or for laying a nasty trap in the narrow gaps between cover. Most importantly, if you don't like the powers you have, you aren't stuck with them. If you visit the med bay on board the Tempest, there is a respec machine that allows you to pay to reset your character and start rebuilding them anew. Or you could revert to an earlier save, but that feels a little cheaty, right? The game doesn't do the best job of explaining its combo system. Now, by combo, I don't mean the ancient art of using the Biotic pull power to grab a goon in your hand and then the throw power to send them flying like a frisbee. I mean, that's funny, yes, but it isn't a proper combo. No, in Mass Effect Andromeda, a combo is when you prime a target with one attack and then detonate them with another. Moves that are capable of priming an enemy are recognized by the small blue circle on the top left of the skill image. Moves that can detonate have a small blue flash on the right side of the symbol. Combos come in 4 flavors, which are decided based on the primer you use. Use a fire primer, such as Incinerate or Flamethrower, and you can trigger a fire combo. This explodes the enemy in question, setting fire to nearby enemies or explosive canisters. Fire out a cryo combo, such as Cryo Beam, and a frozen enemy can be detonated to slow or freeze nearby enemies. Not as destructive as a fire combo, but very useful if you want time to target critical headshots. Moves that leave enemies shocked, such as high-rank Energy Drain, can be used as tech primers. Triggering these creates an electrical discharge on the battlefield that can stun enemies. Finally, biotic moves that lift enemies into the air, such as pull or singularity, will explode with a giant outward force when you hit them with a detonator. It'll also send them flying, which is funny to watch, if not great for looting the body. All of these hit harder and wider than your common attacks, so do contemplate weaving them into your moves. If you set the primer and detonator skills on opposite shoulder buttons, it makes it that much easier. Have fun! It can be overwhelming to be faced with a whole new planet to explore. In your initial visit, you should prioritize finding and activating the forward stations. Shown on your map, arriving at these locations cause the pod to fly down to the planet's surface. The key benefit of finding these is that they can act as fast travel points, turning the vast map into more manageable chunks. They also allow you to change your loadout in the field, a task that normally requires you to enter and exit the Tempest. If you find yourself poorly equipped for a nearby mission, or you just want to change the companions and hear different combat soundbites, just fast travel to the nearest forward station. It's only a small thing, but makes life on those hostile worlds much easier. The Nomad might not scream combat ready, it lacks a cannon on top and can struggle with hills, but it does have its purposes. When driving around the larger maps, you often find enemy bases begging to be ripped apart. Before climbing out and exposing your weak, fleshy bits to their bullets, why not try to thin the herd by charging in with your Nomad? Its shields will deplete fast when they're being peppered with fire, but you can definitely take out a few goons on the way. This is more effective if you first research the defense fortification upgrade at a research station. More importantly, the Nomad doubles as an incredible piece of cover. If you find an empty camp with little in the way of rocks or crates to get the drop on them, you can park the Nomad nearby, hop out and use those huge wheels as cover. It may sound silly, but it allows you to choose your own front to start attacking from, which can make all the difference when faced with 10 gun sites at once. If you really want to go to town, we recommend researching the Emergency Shield's discharge. With this installed, when your Nomad shield drops, it causes a massive shockwave that'll knock enemies back. Just park in the middle of a base and let this power do the heavy lifting. Kaboom! Once you've reached the point in the story where you've colonized Eos, you'll unlock a side quest called AVP Cryo Deployment Perks. It sounds boring, but it's actually really useful. By visiting the Nexus and talking to this character in the operations room, you'll be able to start defrosting cryopods. Each pod you defrost gives you a bonus of some kind, so it's key you prioritize them. The pod you should unlock first is Trade Capacity, as it increases your inventory from 50 to 65, which makes the game less painful as you collect huge amounts of weapons, armor, and mods during your post-battle looting. There's nothing worse than having to destroy precious goods to make room for more. After this pod, your next pick depends on how you're approaching the game. If you don't want to spend time mining or scanning for research points, then the Science pod gives you a chance to automatically earn both. Just make sure you regularly call back to the Tempest to collect these. They won't start restocking until the current load of resources is collected. We'd also recommend thawing out the Apex Tactics pod earlier on, as it adds bonus credits to completed Apex missions. These are tasks tackled by AI squads as you go about your adventure. It can be a nice source of income if you remember to check in on them and send out new missions on a regular basis. It doesn't take long in Mass Effect Andromeda to start amassing a huge library of items to research at the research stations. In order to craft an item, you need to first turn it into a blueprint using points earned by scanning items in the world. With so many exciting looking weapons on offer, the temptation is to go all out like a kid at a candy store, spending research points to develop a wide range of blueprints. Problem is, each weapon has 5 ranks, each of which needs to be researched in succession. If you spend all your points on 10 level 1 weapons, you'll never be able to afford to unlock any of their more powerful versions. At the earlier stage of the game, we recommend focusing on a couple of weapons you really want, rather than dipping into many at once. And whilst we're talking research and development, you should also be careful about augmentations. When you research an augmentation, you're given one copy of it to use when crafting a weapon and unlock it as a piece of loot that can be randomly dropped in the world. As you only have one guaranteed copy of the augmentation, don't just blow it on the first gun you build. Save it for something special. You want a shotgun that fires sticky grenades instead of pellets? You can have it, but wouldn't it be wiser to use it on a level 5 shotgun instead of a flimsy level 1? If you're going to start crafting the deadliest weapons known to mankind, and indeed some of mankind's nobblier alien friends, then you'll need to mine minerals from the planets you discover. Once you've activated a forward station, it marks recommended mining spots on the map. You'll know when you're in range as little pictures of the rock will start flashing in the top left corner. This means it's time to hit right on the D-pad and start searching for goods. Mining seems pretty self-explanatory. When the line goes up, it's time to hit right bumper for some tasty rocks. But don't be hasty. When the line starts to rise, you want to slow right down and start making minor adjustments left and right to see if you can get the line to rise. You want it to be as high as possible. You'll know you've hit a precious vein when it begins to glow blue. Often you'll find many minerals close together. When you see multiple lines going up, it's time to make a choice. Do you find a spot where they're all equal, or do you see if you can push one higher at the expense of the others? If you're working towards a specific weapon or armor piece, you can look at the menu to see what mineral you're missing to help make the decision. You also want to watch out for settling for low value minerals. Each mining site can be exhausted. If you probe the first minerals, you may find you end up missing out on more precious goods. Try driving a few circuits of the area to get a feel for it before taking some low-level scrap. And there we have it, 8 killer tips and tricks to get ahead in Mass Effect Andromeda. Let us know in the comments box down below if you have any tips for us, and make sure to hit that subscribe button whilst you're at it for more Mass Effect Andromeda goodness. We'll see you next time. Bye!